Hi, welcome to my channel. Today's video, requested one again. I'm going through my list, and this is: do you need to believe in order to manifest, to create? Do you need to believe in any way that you will be able to do that your creation will come to life? No, you really don't. I used to say all you need is the belief that it could happen, but you don't actually really need that. If you think about it, we're going about creating all of the time. Everything that we see is a creation. You know, we have created everything that we see around us, the people, the way they interact with us, what we're doing as a job, all of that, we've created it. We didn't have to have belief that it would happen, did we? We just took some action and it happened. We didn't think anything of it. And we don't always have to take action either, depending on what it is that you want. I mean, people will say to me, oh, you always need to take action because otherwise it's just a coincidence. And that's just not true. I have created a lot of things and I've done nothing. I mean, I've obviously had to do something when it came to me getting the situation in order for that to happen for me, and I've obviously had to take action then, but I haven't had to take any action to get that opportunity given to me on a plate. But no, if you've never tried this before, I suggest that you have a look at Neville Goddard's ladder experiment. A lot of you would have probably done it, and you imagine walking up a ladder, climbing up a ladder. You imagine the rungs, you imagine holding onto the ladder. I did it in bare feet when I did it, and you climb to the top and then you can climb to the bottom again, but you really need to feel it. So you feel that if it's a metal ladder, you feel the metal in your hands, you feel the metal under your feet, or if there's a wooden one, you feel the wood. And then basically that's all you do, and you do it for a few nights. I think Neville said 7 nights, but I did it for like 4 nights. And then you go about your day, and occasionally you'll say to yourself, I won't climb a ladder today. And then at some point you find yourself climbing a ladder fairly quickly, and sometimes because it's such a mundane thing, you don't always realise that you've done it for a few days after. I didn't. I was shopping with my mum, and my brother was due to go up in the loft for her and get some cases down and stuff, and she just said to me, oh, you couldn't go up in the loft for me, could you, because Matt can't do it. I think he was ill or something. And I said, yeah, sure. Went home, went up in the loft for her, didn't think, oh, I'm climbing a ladder. 2 days later I literally sat up in bed and went, oh my god, I climbed a ladder, because I hadn't sort of thought anything of it because it's such a mundane thing. And so what Neville was saying is, it doesn't matter whether you say you will do it or you won't do it. If you felt it, imagined it with feeling, felt it, and then let it go. He didn't mention letting go, but I'm just saying that so you're detached from it because it's a very basic thing. Then it will happen. It doesn't matter if you say it won't happen. It doesn't even matter if you think it won't happen. It will still happen. The only thing that stops something coming from us, and it's just a blip because we get over this, is attachment to the outcome. So we have this feeling inside of us, this vibration inside of us, which feels the lack of it. You know, it's not here, or any sort of resistant negative thing going on within you all of the time, like an underlying vibration. That's what holds it back, but it doesn't stop it. It will come eventually, because that feeling eventually will leave you. It won't be there forever. And that is when we see that creation come to life. But the thing is, we start to doubt it, and that's fine. Don't worry about doubt. It just doesn't have any power whatsoever. And we start to think, well, it's happening for everybody else and it's not happening for me. Maybe I don't have that belief. I don't really believe it will come, so that's bound to hinder me. But no, it really doesn't. Don't ever try to force belief, and don't ever try to force expectation, because you can't. You can't force either of those things, really. It's much like assumption. You can't really force an assumption. You can start to tell yourself a different story, but you're not going to all of a sudden assume something different, because our assumptions are sort of within us, and we don't often know that they're there, and they're there through years of programming. So, but we can start telling a different story. But I think, for me, and this is just a personal thing, and I know that other people will persist, but for me, that's never worked. I need to chill out and just make suggestions to myself, and that works better than anything. Making a suggestion to yourself and thinking, wouldn't it be cool if that happened, if I managed to do this? And then if you feel that there's something going on inside of you that is holding you back, just make a suggestion to yourself that actually it doesn't need to be that way. It could be this way, it could be that way, without trying to force it. Because a lot of the time when you try to force something new into your subconscious, and it's something that you really desperately want, you keep noticing that you don't have it. So every time you make that statement, you won't always feel like this, but you might start feeling the lack of it as you make the statement, and feel it and get a resistant feeling with it. So chill out if you can. Well, I know that's really easy to say, isn't it? And that's the stupid thing to say, because it took me a long time before I could do that. But the more relaxed you can be about it, the easier it will come. And just knowing that you don't have to believe, you don't have to have faith, you can doubt, you can worry, all of that takes some of the pressure off, because I really promise you that every time I want to create something, I never think to myself, oh, I believe it will come now. Even though I've been doing this for over 5 years, I still don't do that. I just can't. My rational brain, it just doesn't allow it. My rational brain still thinks it doesn't think it probably won't happen. It thinks it might not happen. But I just ignore it, and I think, yeah, I can't help that. That's there, but I know that it won't make any difference. And it all comes down to detaching to a degree. That's how we create. Well, no, we don't. We create with our imagination and our feelings and all of that, and then we sort of hold it back slightly with the fact that we might be super attached to it. But as soon as we start releasing on that, in whichever way we do that, whether it's naturally just waiting for it to happen or helping ourselves a little bit, you give it space to come in, you free up that space, and then you move into that reality, or whatever you think it is. You bend reality, that thing is given to you. I don't see anything is giving me anything. It's all coming from my feelings. So if you detach to a point, and I'm going to say, I've said in Pimp Your Vibe, in Degrees of Attachment, that I have created still being about 20% attached. But I truly actually believe that you could be about 50% detached, because, let's look at it a different way. If you are 50% detached, so 50% of the time you don't have this thing in your head, it's probably a person, you don't have them in your head, and you say you do a job, and then you come out of that job and you think, oh wow, I haven't thought about that. That just was not in my head for at least an hour then. Take note of that and give yourself kudos for that, because that is so cool. How far have I come? So it's all about giving momentum to the positive, but not, so what we tend to do when we are attached to something is notice all of the time that we're attached and focus on that. Oh, we're attached, is so frustrating. We don't focus on the time that we haven't been, that we don't give that any momentum, or we don't congratulate ourselves for that. And that's what we need to do, because then we get that positive momentum going and we feel good about that. We start feeling good about all of the times that we have been detached, and then it appears. It does. And you don't have to believe it will, you don't have to have faith it will, you don't have to believe anything I'm saying in order for it to work, because we're doing it all of the time. It's nothing different than what we're already doing. We're creating everything around us with our feelings, so we can just as well create something that we really want. And when we are detached to a point, it will come in, and you could be engrossed in something for 10 minutes and it could happen then. You don't need to be, I just want to get this really clear. You do not need to be 100% detached. If you were 100% detached from something, you probably wouldn't be that bothered about it at all. And if it came, you might not even want it anymore. Because to be that detached, completely detached, I'm talking about this from my point of view, me as a person, maybe you will say different. And I'm sure Neville was completely detached, but Neville knew what he wanted, knew what he had to do in order to get it. So it was different, and he got it really quick. So, if you're detached right away, then you are going to get it really quick. But we build up attachment over time, don't we? Then it becomes more difficult to release it, because we feel it's something we have to do, and then we put pressure on ourselves in order to do it. But we don't need to do that. I think once you know that you don't need to have faith, you don't need to believe at all, you can even believe it won't happen, that takes some of the pressure off, I think. And a lot of people say different, that all you have to do, and I think Harry, my son, he says a lot, oh, you just need to believe it, you need to believe it will happen, or you just need to have that positive feeling that it could happen. And that's another way of looking at it. I'm not saying that he's wrong, because if you have that will speed it up for sure, but you don't need it. I think what you really need is just to accept that we're doing this all of the time. We're doing this all of the time, and there's nothing special about this particular thing that we're trying to create. Not anything special to reality, only to us. Reality sees it as, just like a cup of coffee, somebody giving you a cup of coffee or finding 50 pence on the floor. It's not really any different than that, but our rational brain tells us that it is. But no, you don't need to believe in it, and keep telling yourself, I don't need to believe this. I don't need to believe that this will happen. But And then I always say to myself, it probably will happen now, because I find that takes that pressure off, because otherwise you start trying to force the expectation. If you think, yep, it's going to happen now, but deep down you're thinking, oh, it might not, you then start feeling a little bit scared of your own feelings. And we don't want that. We don't need that. We don't need to be scared of our own feelings. I used to be like that too, for sure. And then think that I wouldn't try to make something happen in case it didn't happen. And then it proved to me that this wasn't real, and I wanted to believe it was real. But that is just so crazy, that is just so crazy, isn't it? But it's all part of this whole crazy process, and you do get better at this in time. And then you don't really do it so much with a sort of an expectation. You do it in a more wishful thinking kind of way, and that's when it shows up. And it does, and it might be a week, it might be 2 weeks, it might be 3 weeks, it might be 4 weeks. The time thing just is dependent on your feelings, and all of our feelings are different. But you never need to believe in it, because I'll often get that from some of my members saying, oh, well, I sort of believe, but then I don't, and I'm losing the belief, and I don't even know if I believe that this is real. The whole thing, the law of attraction, don't need to believe that's real either, because we create all of the time, and we don't ever think, do we, oh, is this real? So if you didn't know about this, you didn't know about the law of attraction, you'd be going about creating your life and thinking nothing of it, and things would be happening that you'd imagined, and you think, oh my God, what a crazy coincidence is that? But you wouldn't have any belief in anything in particular that was working to help you get this stuff. You'd just be doing it. You're not being punished for not believing. So when you don't know about it, are you? So why would you be punished when you know about it? So you're not. It's all good. So just sort of loosen up on yourself a bit. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't get frustrated with yourself when you feel attached. Just say to yourself, do you know what? This will go. This will go. I don't need to believe that this will happen, and this feeling of attachment will release all by itself at some point. I mean, I definitely have struggled with myself in the past by feeling that I needed that belief, because it depends who you're listening to, doesn't it, and what you're reading. You just need to believe that the universe has your back and all of that stuff. And I never could really get on board with that. Because it didn't feel like that. I don't mean that in a negative way, that it didn't have my back, that all bad things were happening. I've always been a fairly positive person, and I've always expected the best to happen, or if something's wrong, then I think, oh, it'll be okay, it'll get better. I've always had that kind of attitude. But I always felt that something was going on with my feelings, and I didn't feel that the universe was giving me what was in my best interest. I felt that it was giving me what I was feeling. And obviously, as I've got more into this, I've realised that that's exactly what's happening. So there's nothing in charge of us, nothing dishing stuff out to us as it sees fit. Only we're what's doing that. I don't know what it is. I like to think it's something to do with quantum. I'm sure it is something to do with quantum, but then again, what is quantum? We don't know. So many questions. The more you question, right, the more you look for answers, and the more questions it throws up. So it's better just not to question it and think, I don't know what the hell this is, but I know that it works. I know that I've made this and this happen, so I can just as well make this happen if I just can take a step back. You've got to just enjoy the action, but don't look for the outcome, because the outcome will come when you're enjoying the action. It will. Or don't take any action. If you're feeling uptight or resistant when you're taking the action, then just sort of pull back and, try not to engage so much with those thoughts, and don't water them if you feel that you've got a bit of a mixed vibration going on there. Only sort of visualize and stuff when you feel the urge to do it. That's what I stuck to, a rule that I stuck to, and that really worked for me. So hopefully it'll work for you. Anyway, if you don't know anything about me, I'm an author. I've written 4 books. I have a members area on my website. A new version of that goes live on Monday. So I probably suggest, if you're thinking of becoming a member, wait until Monday evening. It'd just be easier if you do that. If you've got any questions about it, please do email me. You can email me even if you're not a member, but I might take about 7 days to get back to you. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, then I would love you to do that.